Hello there, and welcome to the second installment of Eerie areas. In these videos, I highlight and explore areas in various games that have creepy aspects, such as a dark backstory, ties to the holiday of Halloween, or a generally creepy atmosphere. This is the second episode and my second Halloween episode, as I did the first for Halloween last year about the perplexing pool or distant spring from the first two Pikmin games. Today, I want to cover a different Nintendo franchise, that of Super Mario, specifically the Mario and Luigi series. Areas I want to look at today are Toadwood Forest and the Vim Factory contained within. These are the third and fourth areas visited in the past Mushroom Kingdom in Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. Before I get into that, however, first a bit of context. Mario and Luigi Partners in Time tells the tale of how an alien race called the Shroobs invaded the Mushroom Kingdom during the time that Mario, Luigi, Bowser and Peach were still infants and toddlers. Originating from a planet in the deepest darkness of space, the Shroobs had to look for a new home and chose Mario's Earth. Upon invading the Mushroom Kingdom, they started to lay waste to the Mushroom Castle and Toad Town, completely taking them over in the aftermath and letting purple mushrooms grow all over the place, as far as the eye can see. This in place of the natural green vegetation, showing the Shroobs intend to completely convert the Earth into something more suited to their whims. Shroob versions of regular Mario enemies are also frequently encountered throughout the game, though it is not clear if these are corrupted denizens of the Mushroom Kingdom or species originally from the Shroob planet, may even be different per enemy type. Another clear example of the Shroob's desire to corrupt is when they put a giant egg on Yoshi's island that contains a Shroob-like Yoshi equivalent, dubbed Yoob by Kylie Koopa. The creature eats Yoshis and turns them into purple and green eggs, which in the game are suggested to eventually turn the encased Yoshis into new Yoobs, likely in order to spread the Shroob's influence even further. However, this is not the worst the Shroobs get, as that happens somewhere else. During their initial invasion and during the start of the game, when Holly Jolly Village is visited, it can be observed that the Shroobs have a tendency to kidnap toads. They are brought aboard their flying saucers and taken away, but the game at first leaves ambiguous where exactly they are taken. This only becomes clear when entering the third area that is visited in the game's past, the aforementioned Toadwood Forest. This is a forest filled with poisonous bogs and unusual trees, as noted by the signs in the forest. Some organization called the Toadwood District Rangers seems to have put up these signs, and one talks about voices coming from the woods. This makes sense, as when one looks at some of the trees, one can see silhouettes of toads in various stages of decay. Some can even be talked with, as they ask for help and state that they are growing weak. There's a reason for this, as the trees in the forest sap the life force, called Vim, from these toads. The creepiness of Toadwood Forest mostly lies in this dark lore, but the fact that you go through the area at night and the somewhat ominous music also adds to a somewhat hostile atmosphere. The fact that such a place even exists within the Mushroom Kingdom is unnerving enough on its own, but how the Shroobs perverted the location adds another layer to this. They built a factory called the Vim Factory in one of the forest's poisonous bogs, presumably around a large tree that can be found inside. The purpose of this factory, as its name implies, is to collect the Vim of the toads trapped in Toadwood Forest in one place, as green tubes run into the factory. Similar tubes are also connected to the big tree inside the factory, perhaps to collect the Vim that would normally be contained within the root network of the forest. With this in mind, and an earlier encounter in the forest with the toad Toadiko, who was captured by the Shroobs, it becomes clear why the Shroobs captured toads. It is to bring them to Toadwood Forest to drain their Vim and collect it inside the factory. When one goes inside the factory itself, one is greeted with an unnerving and ominous tune that makes it clear that you are in the heart of enemy territory. Going deeper inside the factory, one can see Vim collection tanks, and in the green liquid, one can see toad-like ghosts with anguished expressions on their faces. These ghosts are then funneled into cramped tunnels to be brought to Swiggler, who consumes the Vim from a glass and mixes it with chemicals to create fuel for the Shroob's flying saucers. The fuel is pumped into the saucers directly from Swiggler, a process the Shroobs inside seem to love. On top of this, similar glass can be seen during the battle with the Elder Princess Shroob at the end of the game to heal herself, implying the Shroobs themselves drink Vim as well. They also seem to bathe in the stuff inside the Shroob mothership, where many Shroobs are seen inside pools of a green viscous liquid. Disturbing implications abound with the happenings in this factory, and it is, in my opinion, the worst example of how far the Shroobs are willing to go in their conquests. One also has to wonder, with their eagerness to corrupt the Mushroom Kingdom and other areas like Yoshi's Island, as well as the fact that they use life force as a fuel source and as a source of sustenance, if this played a part in how they ended up on Earth in the first place. It's never explicitly said why the Shroobs needed to look for a new home, but the introduction of partners in time implies it is because the Shroob planet is dying, as only a barren landscape is shown and a single mushroom on the planet is shown instantly withering. One has to wonder if the Shroobs drained the planet dry of any life force it had, given its mushroom shape, and that this is why they had to abandon it. If this is true, it's feasible to think that the rampant resource consumption we see in Toadwood Forest and the Vim Factory might lead to a similar state for Earth if they are left unchecked. Luckily, the Shroobs are weak to baby tears. All their corruption is cleansed at the end of the game by Professor Egad and his Hydrogush 4000. All's well that ends well, if not for the fact that Bowser's inside story shows that Bowser somehow managed to encase several Shroobs in a freezing vault under his castle, including the two rulers of the species. Let us hope that the vault stays safely guarded then. In conclusion, Toadwood Forest and the Vim Factory are creepy due to their dark lore and further implications about the Shroob race. The presentation of both these areas also adds to this, though they aren't as creepy as they could be either. In the generally dark game that is Partners in Time, they certainly stand out however, and this goes doubly so for the Mario franchise as a whole, and it is part of the reason why I chose to cover them today. I hope you enjoyed this look at these areas and hope to see you next time. Goodbye!